Thank you all for dialing into the session today. I'd like to welcome you all. The session is going to be recorded, and that's so that you can access it at a later date as part of our training resources that we've got. As we've said, to avoid distractions, if you could please mute your microphones. And while the slides are on, we'll try and have cameras off, but then we can ask questions verbally and have cameras on maybe when we do the chat function, the Q&A function later on. So my name's Lisa Berry. I'm chair of the UK CRF Network Study Intensity Work Group. I'm co-presenting today with the Deputy Chair, Alex Radford, and we've also got Sophie Black with us, who is the UK CRF Network Team Network Operations Team Membership Manager. So the session today is just going to give you an introduction to the new version 14 of the study intensity tool. We're going to give a summary of the changes, and that will be by pre-recorded video that is about 13 minutes long. Alex and I will then give a short demonstration of the tools. We'll be looking at pages 1 to 5, the administrative page, and then the summary page. Sophie will then explain how you can access further support and training resources. And then there will be some time for Q&A. So this session today is specifically focusing on the changes to version 14. It's not intended to be a training session for new users to the tool. There is a longer pre-recorded video on the website which you can access. Please do use the chat function as the session progresses to ask your questions. Alex, Sophie and I will be monitoring the questions throughout the session, and then also there'll be a discussion at the end of the pre-recorded at the end of the pre-recorded training video and then the demonstration session that we're doing. The session today is going to give a quick refresher on the intensity tool itself. We refer to it as the SIT. It's aimed at existing users of the tool. There will also be a video which will give a full introduction to using the SIT. Today's session is going to highlight the changes to version 14 with a few presentation slides, and then going to give a short demonstration of the tool. We're going to look at pages 1 to 5, the admin page, the summary page with a very brief explanation of how it can be used to enhance workforce planning. And then we'll look at the resources page, which will have signposting to further support and training for you. The study intensity tool is designed to support clinical research teams in workforce planning, and it calculates study workload using whole time equivalents. Now, this version merges adult and paediatric functionalities into a streamlined, easy-to-use Excel workbook with enhanced usability and updated procedures that are aligned with national guidelines. It measures activity of nursing, laboratory, imaging, and up to 4 MDT staff groups in addition to administrative tasks. It measures intensity and complexity for study visits and for the trial as a whole, and it consists of 8 pages. So pages 1 to 5 are where we document our clinical study activity. We have the admin page, which has a nursing administrative and 3 admin MDT staff groups. We have the summary page, and then there is the support page. Those of you familiar with version 13 of the tool will see that version 14 looks quite different. The visual layout has changed significantly with a new colour scheme. The colours are aligned with the UK CRF network branding, but they've also been chosen to enhance usability and accessibility for our users. And each colour now serves a specific purpose, and this will make it easier for us to navigate and use the spreadsheet more effectively. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a colour key. One of the first things you notice when you look at the tool is that we've used this dark grey, almost black colour to blank out those cells which serve no function or purpose. That makes it easier for us to then focus on the cells which do need our attention or data adding to them. The white cells remain the same as with the previous version. These are for you to enter your free text comments or data. The light grey cells remain protected. These can't be overwritten by the user. We've got the light aqua cells. So these are cells where we would be putting in a title or a header for the pages. It doesn't relate to costing, intensity, or whole time equivalent calculations. The cells that are yellow, this will relate to either the whole time equivalent or the intensity calculations, and the coral colours relate specifically to costings. Version 14 now merges the adult and pediatric tool into one version, and the user can toggle or switch between adult and pediatric versions by selecting pediatric or adult from the drop-down boxes on pages 1 to 5, and you can see an example of this on the screen now. Now, the only difference between the two specialties is some slight changes in the agreed procedure timings, and this is the same as with version 13. And the reason for this is that some activities, such as measuring vital signs or receiving consent, can take longer in a paediatric patient than they would with an adult participant. Selecting paediatric in the drop-down box, which you'll find on pages 1 to 5 in cell E50, will change the relevant procedure timings from adult to paediatric. What we would ask, though, is that if you are using multiple pages of between 1 to 5, is that you check that each page has the relevant specialty. Unlike the header, so if you add in the page title, a study title onto page 1, that will pull through to every other page. You need to manually, from the drop-down box, select adult or pediatric for each of the 5 individual study activity pages. We have got some other changes across 1 to 5. As I mentioned in the last slide, if you enter the study title onto page 1, that will pull across to every other page, as will the per hour costs and the MDT staff titles. The study duration has changed. We now do not require you to decimalize these. You just add your study duration in years and months. You add the overall or the total study duration on the summary page, and then the page specific duration is entered on the pages 1 to 5 and also the admin page. And that's because you could be using, for example, page 1 just to capture your recruitment activity, and you want to measure that. Maybe if you've got a 6-month recruitment period, you would want to have just 6 months on page 1 because that's how long you're recruiting for. But perhaps the study is going to be running for 3 years, and so on the summary page, that's where you put that total 3-year figure. The recruitment activity will now calculate for you the whole time equivalent and the whole time equivalent per annum for that particular activity. And what we've done is group together the education, the study setup and additional activities on pages 1 to 5 in one section. So it just makes it less likely that we're going to either miss off any staff groups, education or study setup time, or less likely that we're going to double count it. And what we've added into the MDT sections is the ability to cost for out of hours and include that as a whole time equivalent, because we know that it's not only nursing staff that work out of hours to deliver our studies. Now we've got additional features which I'll show when we do the demonstration. What we thought and feedback from the users is those that were involved in our pilot of version 14, and thank you to all of those sites, is that being able to minimize disciplines or minimize the sections you're not using on the tool makes it again much easier to then focus on the cells that really need your attention. So you can either minimize or maximize all of the sections for the entire page, or you can go in and minimize and maximize individually, and I'll show you how to do that. We've kept the visit type headers 1 to 5 at the top of the screen, so it doesn't matter which view you're in, whether you're looking at the bottom of the screen or you've scrolled right along to the right, you will still be able to see which visit type number you're working on. We've aligned some of the data again to make it much easier for us to find those outputs quickly. And our suggested procedures and timings have been reviewed with support from national colleagues, and we've reviewed and enhanced the guidance comments which are in the cells, and you can access those, if you remember, by hovering over the red triangle in that specific cell. Now the admin page, really excited about this, as this has been updated following feedback from our users. So the request was, could the calculations on the admin page be pulled through onto the summary page? So that now happens, and that is an active function within the tool. We've reviewed all of the administrative procedures and suggested timings. Now remember, the timings of these activities will change depending on the size and the complexity of your study, but we've had some support from our colleagues working in project management roles nationally to look at these activities, and they've also been reviewed against some NCVR costings. There are now 3 admin MDT sections, and we've introduced a nursing admin section on the admin page, and that's been included so that we can identify where the nursing teams are, or nursing members are, what they're doing clinically, doing those protocol-driven activities, and then how much time they're spent actually doing the non-protocol-driven administrative activities that are happening, so you can see where perhaps there is a difference there. What we recommend if you're using the nursing admin section of the admin page is that if you've got an activity on that page, you don't include it on pages 1 to 5, because otherwise we're double counting. But that's been the sort of same principle for all of the versions of the study intensity tool since we first started many years ago. The summary page has been enhanced, and we've had some really positive feedback from our pilot sites for this. So we've enhanced the outputs that we get to assist you with workforce planning. The overall summary is now at the top of the page, and it includes the whole time equivalent per annum. All of the staff groups are listed, and what you can see, it might be a bit hard to see on this screen because there's a lot of data to fit in quite a short space, but you'll be able to see when you're using the tool itself, is that the whole time equivalent and the whole time equivalent per annum for all of the staff groups on all of the pages, including admin, will now pull across onto the summary page, and what you'll be able to see is which staff groups have got more intensive work for the study, or which pages require more support from your teams. And then you still get the previous calculations of your overall intensity, the costing, and the overall whole time equivalent required to deliver that study. Also, by using this, as I've said in the previous slide, it can help you easily identify how much time the nursing or clinical teams are spent doing the administrative tasks needed to keep the study running. I haven't got time for any questions today. This is a pre-recorded session. What we're going to do now is flip over, and I'll do a short demonstration of those pages just so that you can see the areas that I've referred to in the video today. Thank you for watching. So I'm going to now, we're going to have a look at pages 1 to 5, and I'm going to focus on the subjects that we've got on the screen. So hopefully you can now see a demonstration version, which I've pre-populated, just so you can actually see what it's like with data on. There will be a almost like a PDF version of this demo available for you to access on the website for you to have a look and see what a completed one looks like. I'm going to zoom out first of all, so you can see the visual layout and how that's changed on the tool. So you can see those cells that actually serve no purpose for us, whereas before they were white, it could make the spreadsheet look quite overwhelming. These have now been blacked out, so you're really focusing on the areas that need the data. The colour scheme has changed, as we referred to in the earlier presentation. In this example, you can see we have got pages 1 to 5, but what I've done is I've named the pages just to make it easier for me at a glance, using this as my demo to see. Page 1, I've renamed recruitment because this is looking specifically at my recruitment activity for this study. Page 2, I've labelled as screening and treatment. And then in this example, I'm using page 3 just for the follow-ups. So I'm just going to make sure that we've got 100% on here, just so it's easier on the eye when we're flipping between the different pages. So if we look at page 1, as we said in the presentation, the information that you put in this cell on page 1, the study title, will now pull through to all, if I show you, all of the other pages. So we're reducing the amount of data that you're needing to enter into the tool. And then we've got the page title. So this is page specific. It doesn't pull through from the other pages. So if I show you here on the recruitment page, I've titled it recruitment only, as well as changing the page tab. And then the page title, I've put screening and treatment for page 2. Page 3, I've put follow-ups, and then you can do that for your subsequent pages. The trial number and the PI information will pull through to all of the pages from the data that you put here in page 1. And similarly with version 13, if it's a white cell, you can enter free text data into there. If it's a grey cell, it's pre-populated, or it will pre-populate for you, and you can't overwrite that. If you've got to one of your subsequent pages and realize there's an issue within the header, you just go back and change this onto on the page 1. What will also pull through to the other pages are your staff group sections. So you can see here we've got the nursing as our default main bulk of delivery team activity, and then we go down into our MDT section. So here in MDT1, I've relabeled that, or I've labelled it CTA band 3. That has then pulled through to the other pages. It won't pull through to the admin page because within the admin page, there are those different admin MDT staff groups. And it will pull automatically through. We're on the summary page now. It will, if I show you here, it will pull through. So we've got nursing admin page, and these are those MDT sections. Now here I've not filled out MDT4. I'll just show you how on page 1, MDT1. I hope this isn't making anyone feel dizzy with me scrolling down the screen. So here we've got MDT4. I could change that to, let's say, physiotherapist. And now what will happen is MDT4 will now see physiotherapist. And the reason for that is to reduce the risk of error, because when you're using different staff groups and you're using different pages, if it's quite a complex protocol, it's easy sometimes just to forget which staff group you put in which MDT section. And when we're looking at this enhanced summary page, where we're looking at that whole time equivalent and those outputs of what staffing we need to deliver the study, we needed to make sure that absolutely, if we're saying that CTA is in MDT 1 on page 1, that that then pulls across, and we're not then maybe accidentally mixing up a CTA on page 1, MDT1, and then accidentally putting them in MDT4 on another page. So it just gives you that consistent and accurate output. Something else that's changed in the tool is how we document study duration. So you'll remember previously that needed to be done as a decimalization. We don't need to do that anymore. Let me just scroll down and find where our study duration is. Here we are. So it's at the top. So this is page specific for pages 1 to 5 and admin. So in this example, I'm saying for my recruitment activity, I've got 6 months of recruitment period. So 0 years and 6 months recruitment. For screening and treatment, in this example, I'm saying I've got 1 year and 7 months of someone of sort of first patient in to be screened to last patient, last treatment visit. And I've just added a comment here in the general page comment section on row 9, because I may be coming back and reviewing this at a later stage. And then for follow-ups, we've got a year of follow-up. So I've individually calculated the study duration for each of those different stages of the study. And I've used the admin page in this example. So the study duration in the admin page is going to encompass time for me to get the study open. So we go from when we open recruiting patients through to last patient, last visit. And then I have included a little bit of time here to close that study down at the end. So the study duration is 2 years and 3 months for admin. And then what I'll do on the summary page, this is where you calculate the entire study duration. So your admin, actually, if you're using the admin page and you're only maybe recording or capturing maybe a month's worth of admin time as a separate activity, and everything else you're putting on pages 1 to 5, your duration from the admin and summary may be different. Hopefully that makes sense. In this example, it's the same because I've put everything on admin from start through to finish and close out. Your summary page is again your total duration. It's not page specific, and this is what will calculate your overall whole time equivalent and whole time equivalent per annum, and it will automatically decimalize that for you, so you don't need to worry about formula calculating that anymore. Another change you'll see is actually we've now grouped together the setup time and education activity for your different staff groups. I'm just going to make it slightly smaller on the screen. In the previous version 13, this section here was at the bottom of all of the MDT sections. And again, that made it, there was an increased chance there of either double counting some education or setup time or missing something. So by grouping it all together, you can then get that overall view of how much time you're allocating. The thing we recommend you do is check if you're adding in study setup time here for your non-admin staff, that you then don't include it on your admin page, because otherwise you're double counting. So as a rule of thumb, if you're including an activity for a staff member on pages 1 to 5, you don't include it on the admin page, and vice versa. A new addition was the min-max function, and this is because there's a lot of information on the spreadsheet. There is the function for you. We've obviously got 5 pages with 5 visit types and multiple staff groups to enter data for. So hopefully you can see with where this pink mouse is, there's a number 1 and 2. If we click on 1, it will minimize all of these different staff groups for you. And then say, for example, you are only going to use the nursing staff group to do your intensity, you can just click on that cross and it will expand that section for you. And conversely, you can minimize. If you wanted to make the entire page, all of the sections maximized, you just click on this little number 2 toggle here and it will maximize it for you. Again, doesn't change how the tool functions or calculates, it just makes it a bit easier for you as a user. The thing that we were really quite excited about was being able to remove the need for a separate pediatric tool. So this is cell E50 across all of the pages. It will say adult or pediatric, and then you just click on, and I'll maximize this section here so you can see where there are potentially some differences in the timing. So if we've clicked on adult, we can see that the informed consent timing here is 20 minutes. Vital signs are 5 minutes. If we switch this to pediatric, you can see that the timings here for some of those activities have changed. Those timings haven't changed from version 13, they remain the same. We have had pediatric colleagues involved in piloting this version of the tool with really good feedback from them. And remember, with the timings, they are suggested timings. I did see there was a question in the chat about whether these match NCVR. Some of them do, some of them don't. The thing to remember is these are suggested timings, and things may take longer at your site or with that particular patient group. And actually there may be activities that you need to escalate within the NCVR costing template. So yes, certainly the lab group provided NCVR aligned costings for the lab section. Some of these do match, some don't, but it's down to you as the user to calculate or to estimate how long these activities are going to take with your patient group at your site, and that is specific to that particular protocol. We've gone through the different MDT functions and what we will get as an output. So here for recruitment, because I've only captured recruitment on this page, I've put in the cost key. And this is based on Agenda for Change costs. You can get that information from your R&D departments. The longer video that's available on the website just gives some hints and tips about how to use the costing key. And in this example only, this is what it would cost me to employ, or it cost my trust to employ with staff overheads, these individual staff groups. And the outputs we'll get from a costing perspective is how much this recruitment and education activity is going to cost me as an employer to deliver those studies. That also makes it easier for me to understand if the study's in deficit or not. But what it also gives me, so in this example, we've got 6 months of recruitment activity. I've got a nurse in clinic, sort of approaching patients or pre-screening clinic lists for 3/4 of an hour a week, and then I've got a band 3 CTA, just 1/4 of an hour a week, just sending out patient information sheets. So the outputs I've got here for this section are telling me how many hours that's going to cost or take per staff group, what the whole time equivalent and the whole time equivalent per annum is. And for those of you that aren't familiar with or would like a bit of a refresher on how we calculate whole time equivalent and whole time equivalent per annum, there is a section on that and some examples on the longer video which is available on the website. What we'll also get here for recruitment as well is, again, hours, minutes. We've got the whole time equivalent and then how much it costs. If I move on to page 2, I've not captured any recruitment activity here because I've got it on page 1. In this example, it's just one cohort of patients, and I've split that activity up into those 3 different distinct stages of study delivery. You can use it. Maybe you've got 5 different cohorts and you want to, or 5 different arms, and you want to capture the different arms on a different page. You can absolutely, the tool is so flexible. You can use it to absolutely, it's a generic tool, but you make it specific to how you deliver the study at your site. There's a huge amount of flexibility within here. Excuse me. In this example, the outputs that we're looking at, because I've mapped the different screening and treatment activities, if we work our way down, we've got 40 patients that are going to be screened because I'm expecting 10 screen fails. I've then got 30 patients, that's my target, that are going to be enrolled and dosed within this study. And then I've mapped, same as you do on version 13, the different study visits following the schedule of events. Plotted what activities we're going to do. What you will see in version 13 is there we've reviewed all of those guidance comments and we have enhanced the time the information that are within those comments for you. And we've included more study specific procedures. Remember, if it's white, you can overwrite and add in any activity that you're required to within your protocol. And then the outputs we get under each staff group are the same. You'll find out how many minutes it will take and hours in staff time to deliver that visit type for one patient and then for all of the patients within that particular cohort. There's a section here around how to capture unsocial hours. We've included that as a new function for all of the different MDT sections, and the longer video, which I think is about 45 minutes training video, will again have a section focused specifically on here. The cost function will enable you to identify how much those out of hours are going to cost, because that can significantly increase the cost of delivering a study. What it will also tell you as well, so we've got hours, minutes, it will give you what your intensity calculation is for the different types of visits. So we can see here the screening visit, which is my visit type 1, is less intensive than that first dosing visit that we've got. And if we scroll along to the end, it's going to say what the whole time equivalent and whole time equivalent per annum is. And as a reminder, it's got here, it's telling you what that study duration is. So we've got 1 year and 7 months worth of study activity here. And then if we work our way down through those different MDT sections, we can see for a CTA band 3, I need almost a day a week in total of a CTA to deliver their activities within the study. I've included fellow time here, and again, I've got exactly those same outputs. It's telling me how much of an unblinded nurse I need. Physiotherapist, remember I just added that title in. We've not got any activities in here at the moment, but if we were to add that, we would have this here as an output. I've included lab activities, and these have been reviewed with the support from the lab managers group. Again, those outputs are the same. And then we've continued to include imaging as a standard MDT group within the intensity tool. And then we get down to the bottom of the page, and this summarizes everything for page 2. So screening and treatment activities for 40 patients to be screened, 30 patients to be dosed. Is telling me overall for that page's worth of activity, my average intensity is a 5, and across all of the different staff groups to screen and dose, I need 1.64 whole time equivalents. And then if we go on to the follow-up page, which is page 3, remember I've just renamed that page. We've got a year of follow-up 40 patients having a follow-up visit. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, I'll just maximize this page for you. So you can see it's just the same process as with version 13. If I scroll down the bottom here, we can then see that actually for that follow-up period of a year, I need far less staff than if I'm dosing and treating. So this is just an example of how using the tool in this way will enable you to identify where those peak periods are. I'm now going to move on to the admin page. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller for you initially, so that again you can see the difference. I'll maximize here. So the page setup is the same, colours are the same across all of the different pages that we've got. And I've just made it clear in this example that I'm capturing the administrative activities on the admin page that aren't captured anywhere else. The addition that's new for the admin page is that we've included a nursing administration section. And this is to make it easier for you to identify how much of your sort of clinical nursing staff are spending doing admin tasks. And then there are another 3 MDT admin roles for you to use. So we think hopefully that should encompass the different diverse roles you've got within most of your teams. All of the suggested activities here are the same regardless of if it's nursing admin or one of the admin MDT sections. I'd like to thank our project management colleagues nationally who had looked at this list from version 13. This has been completely updated. We've got additional comments here, and there are suggested procedure times, but that will be, you as the user will change that depending on whether you've got a commercial or a non-commercial study, how complex it is, and how many participants you're going to be screening. It's asking you to think about how many times you're going to do these activities at setup, when the study is actually running, and then what activities you need to do at archiving and at study closeouts. And it's exactly the same as pages 1 to 5. You will get the same outputs. It's going to tell you how much staff time you need and how much that's going to cost. It won't give you an intensity calculation on the admin page because intensity calculation is based on those clinical protocol driven activities, on the study visits, not on administrative activities. And then we move on to the summary page here, which pulls everything together across all of those 6 pages. The new addition another new addition for version 14 is that the hold time equivalents and the costs on the admin page now pull through automatically onto the summary. What you can see here is you've got your overall hold time equivalent and your overall average intensity. The study duration, as I said earlier, is for the study as a whole from opening through to last patient, last visit. And what it's showing here is how the intensity calculation changes across those different stages of the study. So on average, it's a 4. We can see here that screening and treatment is that most intensive period during the study delivery. There is a section here around costing and CRF manager upload. As with all of our previous versions, we release the newest version of the study intensity tool first, and then the CRF manager group then updates CRF manager to enable automatic upload. That is in progress at the moment. We expect that to be complete within the next few months. We'll keep you updated with that. What we recommend is that if it's mandatory at your site for you to upload your intensity calculations into CRF Manager, that you use version 13 for now, and then we'll be sending updates through the CRF Managers group to let you know when that functionality has been, an interface has been completed. This is the enhanced workforce planning section. This is where it maps for you and pulls through all of those different staff groups, including the admin. And it's telling you for each of those different groups how much staff you need to deliver the study, and it distinguishes between your nursing and your nursing admin whole-time equivalent, and then it will map for you, as you can see here on the screen, again, where those different more intense periods are. And it's going to tell you again at the bottom of the page what those overall whole-time equivalents are for you to deliver that study and your whole-time equivalent per annum. We've then got a support page. I'm not going to focus on this. I am going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to Sophie, who will go through the additional sort of training resources for you.
So Lisa mentioned, so we've got everything. If you're used to finding tools and documents on the portal, everything has been added under the study intensity tool menu. So you can go down, and if you're using version 13 still, we've still got links to the training to version 13 and 14. And all the new documents have been added on there. What I recommend and what we've done to make it as easy as possible for everybody to access is we've actually uploaded everything to our website. So you don't have to request access to the portal. You can come straight onto the website and download everything you need. So this is our study intensity tool landing page. And you can find that through the training and education menu. And it's also through the tools and guidelines as well. So at the top of the page, you can download the new tool straight away. So if you click this link, it'll download straight into your downloads folder. We're also going to be running monthly Q&A sessions, so you can come with questions with Lisa, Alex, and other of our expert users. And if you want to request links to those, you can use this form. This form's been slightly amended, so we've actually got the dates of each one. So I've put the first 6 months on there, but you can also click all of these if you just want them all in your diary. And these are drop-in sessions, so you can accept these and just attend the ones that you would like. And you're very welcome to come and listen in on those as well. And then if you just scroll right to the bottom, links to all our training and extra support are on here. So we've got the videos, the one that we played this earlier on in the meeting, but also the beginner training. And I did just want to flag that we do have the timestamps in here. So if many of you are existing users, but you do want to refresh a certain area, you can come down and click on any of these timings and it'll take you straight to that section. So this is kind of a contents page of the video. If you prefer to read a document and go through all the changes instead of listening to a video, we have the summary of changes in a PDF. So this is everything that Lisa's gone through, all in written form. So again, you can refer back to different sections. And Lisa mentioned, you know, if you wanted, you could compare version 13 and 14 and look at the different places, and this will tell you where is a section on 13 and where is it on 14. So especially if there is something that you can't find, you can reference it on here. And then right at the bottom, we also have all the calculations explained as well. And then all the other extra support is on there. So when we launched this a few weeks ago, there's a few things were missing. So the FAQ document is now available on here. So you can download and access that here. And a full demonstration video, more aimed at new users, will also be added on here then as well. And finally, we have a contact email address. So if you do have any questions and you're not able to get to one of the monthly Q&A webinars, you're very welcome to email this email address. That'll come through to the ops team, but we'll send that on to the Intensity Tool group, and one of the expert users will get back to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Sophie. So I think Alex has been monitoring the chat as we've gone along. Alex, were there any questions that or chat that you wanted to discuss with the group?
Not really. I think you picked up the one in regards to the NCRB. There was a question in regards to whether there was plans for it to be uploadable to Edge. I advise obviously that it was just as you went into the CRF manager section, so we could upload to that, but we're just waiting on that. But as far as I'm aware, you may know something different. Edge, because I think it's a different company and it's a different head. We haven't got sort of the rights for that, and I think it would be something that Edge would need to incorporate in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Then there was another question about different sections and whether there was an imaging section or a radiology section. Just as you then promptly scroll down, you did it magically, Lisa, scroll down to the imaging section, but they felt that not having a pharmacy section potentially was a loss. Although I mean, everyone uses the tool different. So I suppose I responded from how we do it in Sheffield, and ours is we would complete the tool for the staff that we have and we control and budget for a study, rather than how the study is run throughout a trust. So I wouldn't include imaging because we don't have any imaging staff. And pharmacy obviously sits within the trust pharmacy and are budgeted and financed separately. So I suppose they are given, I think from the national costings, they are given a certain amount rather than look at their hours and their workforce. It could be done, I suppose, to see how much of a pharmacist you would use, but it's not standard, I would have thought, nationwide, which is the reason why it hasn't had that section included. But an MDT section could be used to incorporate a pharmacist within that.
Absolutely, Alex. Yeah, that's what I would advocate. I mean, the only standard MDT sections that are included are labs and imaging. That you could use this for any staff group. Yeah, you've got nursing, lab, imaging, and on pages 1 to 5 there are the additional 4 MDT groups. So you could absolutely use one of those MDT functions to include a clinical trial pharmacist. Or there's nothing actually to stop the pharmacy department from using a study intensity tool to capture all of their studies and what their workforce requirements are.
There was also someone who noticed, and obviously we're a bit behind with the times, or not, we've completed it all before the times came out, that GCP seemed to have changed, the GCP update seemed to have changed the word from amendments to modifications. But currently this is obviously rolled out with the word amendments. It's something we can look at with another version.
Yeah, and I think we know that obviously the wording has changed. Version 14 has been in testing phase for a very long time now with that. I think most of us will know that an amendment would be a modification. It's the same thing, as long as the timings match up and are accurate, and you can just add a comment onto the cell to say amendment equals modification, or whatever particular activity it is that you're looking at. And remember, there are those white cells there which you can free text enter any activity into.
And that was all the questions really, unless I missed one.
Just have a look down here. Okay, so thank you.
Someone asked about recording. Yes, recording is made available on the website that Sophie showed earlier.
Yeah. And then, as we said, CRF Manager, yes, you will be able to upload, but not at the moment. The CRF Manager group are doing an update at the moment, and it's just the way it is with every tool. We release the tool first because the tool has to be sort of finalised and released, and then the CRF Manager team then do the modifications that you need. So there's a question here from Olivia: for data managers and non-clinical coordinators who support arranging patients' visits, would you advise using pages 1 to 5 for study visit specific activities, and also the admin page for non-visit related activity? Yes, absolutely. You can use it in that way. The thing I would just make sure that you're capturing is exactly where you are recording those activities so that you're not missing it. I would say, as a rule of thumb, if it's to do with organising a study visit, put it on pages 1 to 5. If it's to do with all of that background admin that we need to do, then you could consider adding that onto the admin page. It's absolutely down to you as to how you use it, but for me your suggestion there makes absolute sense, and that is how I use the tool at my site. So I think we're virtually out of time now. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining in. No, you can't add extra lines. If we change any, if we add in any lines, it will affect the formatting that we've got in there. So the actual formula itself is protected. That's for the comment from Helena. So thank you all. Please do dial into our future monthly Q&A sessions that we've got, and please do access all of the learning materials that are on our website. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.